Hey all, here OS Reviews. Today we're taking a closer look at the Wear Pi HW21. This is an affordable smartwatch that has a true round display and sells for under 30 bucks, making it ultra affordable. It has heart rate monitoring, SpO2 blood oxygen monitoring, as well as a pretty thin and lightweight frame that's constructed out of zinc alloy, so it has some metal accents, and the watch dials can even be customized. So this is going to serve as a competitor to the likes of the Halo Solar and other low-cost fitness tracker smartwatches that we've seen. However, functionality underneath will still be relatively entry-level. For example, it has a LCD IPS display as opposed to AMOLED, but again, expected at this price. Battery life here is rated to last around 10 days on a single charge. The display size measures 1.28 inches diagonally, which is pretty compact. Uses Bluetooth 5.2 to connect wirelessly to your phone, has sleep tracking as well, and it doesn't have built-in GPS, which is expected for, again, under 30 bucks, but you can use connected GPS. Final spec to keep in mind is that it is rated to be up to 3 meters in terms of water resistance, meaning you can take it if you're lightly swimming or going to the gym and get sweat on it. In the box, we also have a quick user guide along with a charging cable that is magnetic and just attaches onto the back of the watch. Right, so here is the HW21, and first impressions are definitely very favorable. In fact, I'm surprised by how premium feeling it is for a budget watch. I mean that because the entire frame here, as the ads kind of specified, is constructed out of zinc alloy, so it's made out of metal and feels much better than some plastic watches that we usually see at this price. The accents and chamfered edges that make it seem like something that you would expect to sell at a higher price range. The bezels on the screen are also quite minimal, and you can see here it's a true round display, so everything is quite seamless and beautiful to look at. The screen here is also slightly recessed below the chassis, which again is made out of metal, which does protect it slightly from the elements. Again, this thing is also very slim and lightweight, as aforementioned, so if we do a quick contrast with something like Huawei's Honor Magic Watch 2, you can see that there's going to be a pretty large difference there in terms of size on the wrist, and even more so if you are comparing it with more advanced smartwatches like the TicWatch Pro. This runs on Android Wear, but has a much thicker size. Still, the back of the watch is made out of a plastic component just to still cut down on costs, and we can see some of the sensors there for the heart rate and SpO2 blood oxygen, and also the charging contacts. The watch straps, as you can see here, can be easily removed, and otherwise there's simply a crown key on the edge, and that is pretty much it. So waking up the display, again, we have a tempered glass capacitive touchscreen, which is very responsive, surprisingly, to swipe on, and everything feels very good. Viewing angles of the screen is also quite generous, so if I'm looking at it from different angles, nothing really washes out, and contrast is also quite vibrant for a LCD screen. If anything, maybe it's just the pixel resolution of the screen is not going to be as high as on more expensive smartwatches, so if you squint super closely, you might still make out a little bit more pixelation, but when you're wearing it, it still looks excellent in terms of the overall quality, I think, for the price. So briefly revisiting the UI, we can long hold on the main screen here to change the dial of the watch, and it's pretty responsive. You have a few options which are built on in, and then a fourth watch face that you can customize by pushing over an option from the companion app. You can even create your own watch face by adding your own photo. So in total, the watch can hold up to 4 different faces at a time, but they are heavily inspired by options which have been designed by Amazfit. For example, the Amazfit Zepp E that we just reviewed the other day, you can see here has almost the same style of watch face that they have available. Aside from the inverted colors, the yellow and the black on this design have just been switched. But again, this is really the original, and then of course this is trying to imitate it to some degree. But it is getting surprisingly close, considering this Amazfit Zepp E smartwatch that we talked about is much more expensive. It sells for over 250 bucks compared to just $30. The watch does also have haptic vibrations, so it will lightly shake to give you notifications, and also as you're scrolling through different menus to give you confirmation, which works pretty well. Otherwise, we can drag down to access a quick shade of shortcuts, including changing the display brightness level. As you can see there is no auto setting, but you can easily change it from there. Check on the Bluetooth connection status and turn on or off Do Not Disturb modes, night modes where it will stop notifications from getting in, and then swiping up to actually see those messages, although you can't reply back, and it doesn't have a built-in speaker or microphone, so you can just quickly glance the information from it, but still is very useful. Now on the edge here, we have the full list of applications in this vertical menu, and it does work pretty well in terms of quickly going through. versus scrolling on the other direction goes through a carousel of some quick shortcuts as widgets or pages. You can take a look at how many steps you've walked during the day, calories burned, as well as a quick map of how you compare against other days in the week, and check out some quick information at a glance. Swiping over again, we'll take a look at the weather info. Now, I will say that the weather info is restricted only to the current day, so it doesn't show you, say, 7 days ahead. So you do need to sync this every day if you want to see the weather info, and it's getting that data from your phone. You can also take a look at your heart rate historically here on a map for the past 7 days. Your highest heart rate, your lowest is also shown, and then you can also even add another separate component or widget depending on what you like to use the most. So they give you options like one here for a countdown timer, or you can also take a look at your sleep data directly on the watch from the past night, light versus deep sleep, and we can long hold here to basically get rid of this component if we don't want to see it. Like other SpO2 trackers, it takes about 30 seconds to do a measurement for the blood oxygen level, so it's not quite as fast or continuous as the heart rate measurement, but overall accuracy is still decent. Overall number of steps that it counted was also fair. I would say it tends to maybe overcount by a touch, so if I walked 100 steps, it would say maybe 102 steps, but it's not too far off. And in terms of sleep tracking, it's also decent, but it only tracks it during the hours at night. So it's not going to record naps if you're taking one in the afternoon, for example. But if you're sleeping, say, at midnight, waking up at 8 or 9 in the morning, it will get that information mostly accurate along with your light versus deep sleep. They give you options like running, treadmill, walking, football, badminton, tennis, cycling, trekking, basketball, elliptical, yoga, and free trainings. Let's talk a bit about the companion application. So it can be downloaded for both iOS and Android, and it's called Wear Fit Pro. It's a generic app that we've seen for other low-cost smartwatches in the past, so it connects to a variety of devices. It's certainly functional when it comes to recording your data and backing it up, although it's definitely an area where the fact that it's a lower cost watch maybe starts to become a bit more obvious. So on here, one of the things I noticed is that the connection process it takes to sync information usually takes a little longer. Afterwards, it will just track things like your steps recorded, as well as take a look at your average for the week and give you some other statistics, which are pretty easy to see at a glance. And other things here include the blood oxygen monitoring will also be saved over. We also see the heart rate measurement can also be tracked here continuously to take a beat every few minutes. And also the sleep data can be seen in more clarity, breaking it down into different components using the app here. Now, other things on the app here include starting an exercise directly from the app, and this is the part where if you tap on go, it will begin tracking your route using your phone's GPS, and then everything else like steps and calories still using the watch. So if you want to track your location, you have to start it from here. Take photos by using the watch as a remote control, as well as what types of notifications you want to pass through, and of course change the watch face. So this part here, it's better than expected in the sense that there is a longer list of different watch options that they have on the app than I was expecting for such a low-cost smartwatch, and you can really just drag down and it refreshes. There's definitely a pretty diverse list of options. The downside, however, is not all of these watch faces are actually free. You can see that some of them have a sale price next to them, so they can cost between 60 cents. Some of them are free, and others can even cost up to $1, which I do think is a little bit on the stingy side. I really wish that these watch faces, they really should be free. So it's almost like they're selling this as a service by making the actual watch itself so cheap and then trying to get you to spend more in other ways. I've also noticed that the app can sometimes have some advertisements as you're using it if you are connected to the internet, which is a little bit jarring, and those areas do detract a little bit from the experience. But again, considering the price of under $30, it's still kind of hard to expect too much or complain too much. So if I push one over to the watch here, it's just going to take a few seconds. And there we go. Here's one that's kind of inspired by porcelain. Here's an animated little fox inspired by The Little Prince. So that's more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the HW21 budget smartwatch with a round display. Again, the hardware is probably the most impressive thing about it, considering the fact that it's, again, so cheap, but it has such a sleek design. Everything is very solid in terms of build. Display is actually quite good, and overall it just looks like a smartwatch that's more expensive than you'll expect when you're picking it up and actually using it. But the slight downside is the companion app can be a little bit annoying at times, but despite those quirks on the companion app side, the watch itself is definitely an excellent value overall, and again, it performs nicely in terms of the accuracy of the tracking, the way that it looks, and it's a great alternative to other low-cost smartwatches like the Halo, really showing how far we've come in terms of smartwatches getting progressively lower and lower in terms of price point. You can check out more details if you're interested in the links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the impressively low-cost HW21 budget smartwatch.